Is AI shaping your imagination? What if the greatest danger of AI is that you slowly lose touch with your own imagination? This question has plagued me recently. Hello and welcome to Unbox the Podcast. This is episode 27 of season 26. I'm your host, Sahar Palmer, best-selling author, intuitive life mentor, and formulator of the Unbox the Real You methodology. The methodology is based on the 4 dimensions of change, which I call BIMA. Today, I want to talk to you about imagination, creativity, inspiration, and intuition, and why I believe awareness may become even more important as AI becomes part of our everyday life. I use AI myself. I find it very useful, I'm fascinated by it, and I find it extraordinarily helpful. So I'm not here to tell you to reject technology or fear it, but I want to explore something much more personal. What happens when a tool becomes so familiar that we stop noticing how much it may be shaping us? And if you don't know yourself very well, how do you know where your ideas are coming from? I recently came across a discussion about Generation Alpha. Depending on which definition you use, loosely, it's for people born from around 2010 onwards, although the dates may vary. One prediction suggested that they, Generation Alpha, may grow up treating AI as a creative collaborator rather than novelty. I found that fascinating, a creative collaborator. Imagine growing up with a tool that can help you develop an idea, create an image, write music, explore a concept, translate a thought, give it form into something that you truly want to express. The possibilities are amazing, numerous, infinite. But almost immediately, another question came to me. What if AI becomes your creative collaborator before you fully discovered your own mind, your imagination, and your inner voice? Who is shaping your ideas then? That question stayed with me because familiarity with a tool, any tool, is not the same as self-awareness, discernment, imagination, or independent judgment. That question stayed with me because familiarity with a tool is not the same as self-awareness, discernment, imagination, or independent judgment. And this is not only about Generation Alpha, it concerns all of us. We already live with technology. That suggests what we watch, read, buy, and listen to. Increasingly, it can also suggest what we think about, what we write, how we express an idea, and what that idea might become. The speed is extraordinary. You can ask a question and receive a polished answer in seconds. But the speed at which we receive an answer may now be faster than the speed at which we discover what we actually think. I believe that is worth paying attention to. So where do your ideas come from? Let me ask you something. When was the last time you had an idea before reaching out for a screen? Perhaps you were walking, driving, cooking, showering, sitting quietly, or waking from a dream. Maybe an image suddenly appeared in your mind, or you saw a connection between two things that you have previously thought they were unrelated. You might have felt an urge to write something, make something, call someone, or explore an idea that you couldn't yet explain. I'm sure this has happened to you. I'm sure you've experienced this. I have worked with intuition for more than 30 years. And one of the things that I have learned is that human awareness is much richer than our conscious thought process alone. We receive and process information through our whole body, through our emotions, memory, dreams, symbols, association, imagination, and intuition. Sometimes we know something before we can explain it to ourselves. An idea may arrive before we even have language for it. We feel drawn towards something, someone, an idea, a company. Only later we understand why. This is why I have never seen that intuition and logic are enemies. We need logic, discernment, critical thinking, and intuition matters too. For me, intuition is deeply connected with creativity and imagination. I've always believed this. Whatever we can't imagine, we cannot realize. Think about any meaningful change in your life. Before you create something new, you often need to perceive that another possibility exists, right? You may need to imagine a different response, relationship, way of working, a boundary that you need to construct, or a future, or a next platform. If you cannot imagine beyond the life that you already know, then repeating it is more likely. And this brings me directly to the theme. I have been exploring throughout 2026 on Unbox the Podcast the courage to be you, show up, stay true. Because staying true to yourself requires a new kind of awareness. When ideas, answers, even creative possibilities can be generated in seconds, you need to know yourself well enough to recognize your own voice, what matters to you, what your core values are. You need to know what genuinely interests you, what moves you. How is your imagination working for you? How do you know when your intuition speaks to you? Otherwise, it becomes very easy to confuse external suggestion with inner direction. You need to unbox. My work has always been about unboxing the real you. For years, I have explored the boxes that we live in, if you like. Family, culture, expectations, old beliefs, emotional patterns, fears, habits, labels, the roles that we play. So do the stories we inherit and the identities we build because at some point in our lives, they helped us feel safe or belong. Now I think there is another layer to consider. This box, if you like, is a digital one. It can be shaped by algorithms, recommendations, search results, generated answers, and predicted preferences. We can now receive polished ideas before our own imagination had had time to wander. This is where self awareness becomes crucial. If you don't recognize your own patterns, you may not notice when technology is reinforcing what you're unconscious of. If you never examined your beliefs, maybe you'll keep asking the same questions and get the same answers. And if you don't know what genuinely moves you, it becomes harder to distinguish between an idea that feels right and truly sound and impressive and you're passionate about, and the same thing applies to intuition. If you have never explored your own inner guidance, your communication with yourself, any external suggestion can easily become louder than your inner voice. This is why I believe that in the age of AI, we need to unbox more deeply, if you like. We need to know what is inside us. What have we inherited, absorbed, unconsciously chosen, or simply never questioned? Then you can use the tool with much greater awareness rather than creating a digital profile or a digital brand that gradually moves you away from what is real. Inspiration is breathed into you. This word kept coming back to me while I was preparing for this episode. Inspiration. We use it casually. We say something inspired us. We feel inspired, that we are looking for inspiration. But the roots of this beautiful word is in English. It comes from Latin, inspirare, meaning to breathe or to blow into. Over time, the word also became associated with divine or spiritual communication or influence. To breathe into. I find that extraordinary because it describes something many creative people recognize, many of us miss. An idea arrives unexpectedly. A sentence forms an image, or a melody appears, or a connection suddenly becomes clearer before logic can even explain it. Something seems to enter the space of awareness. I find that especially interesting because of my own work in intuition. I'm not suggesting that every passing thought is an inspirational guidance. We need grounding. Discernment is a favorite word. And we need to question ourselves, our fears, our wishful thinking, and projection can all influence what we perceive. But I do believe that human intelligence extends beyond conscious analysis. I have also experienced this in my lifetime as an intuitive. I have learned to pay attention to what I sense before I have words to explain it. As an author, I know this too, what it feels like to make a connection and then wonder where it came from. As a poet, I know that sometimes I hear a line that is breathed into me before the meaning of the entire poem becomes clear. Through my work with dreams, I have seen repeatedly that unconscious communication through symbol, images, and associations. I have also watched people discover answers that they already knew it was somewhere within them, but it was buried underneath the noise. You often hear people say, I don't know why, but I feel this. So perhaps we need to protect this inner space where inspiration lives. Inspiration, imagination, and intuition all need room. And modern life has become extremely efficient at filling every empty space. So, where does your mind wander to? Think about an ordinary day. You wake up, perhaps reach for your phone. There are messages, emails, news, social media, meetings, videos, recommendations. You might listen to something while you're getting ready. Or you might check something out while you're waiting for a lift, the bus, the car, the driver. And you scroll for minutes. Now we can also ask AI almost anything the moment a question enters our mind. So where does your mind wander to? Where does your imagination play? Where do you become bored enough to discover something unexpected? And where do you hear yourself? Or how do you hear yourself? Some of the most important insights in my own life arrived rather unexpectedly through unexpected connection. A dream connects with a conversation. A feeling brings back a memory. An image raises a question. Even scent can provoke something that was deeply buried within my mind. The mind is doing more than retrieving information. It is making connections. And meaning is personal. The meaning we make from lived experience is deeply human. What recent research is beginning to show is that, and it's a fascinating research about AI and creativity. A 2025 systemic review and meta-analysis brought together 28 studies involving more than 8,000 participants. On average, people collaborating with generative AI performed better creative tasks than people working without AI assistance. That is significant. It supports the idea that AI can genuinely help us with creative work. But another finding caught my attention. The diversity of ideas decreased. Think about that for a minute. Many people perform better on a creative task while collectively the range of ideas becomes narrower and narrower. I find this is more interesting than simply asking AI for good or bad creativity. This is a developing field, and one study cannot settle answers to this question. But the findings invite us to think. What happens when millions of people ask the system for similar ideas? What happens when the answers generated kill our curiosity? What happens when we develop images that are so polished that we actually are cloning each other rather than being unique or real? Have you noticed how recognizable AI generated content and language are already becoming? The same phrase, the same rhythm, the same polished structure. So be careful that you do not gradually become a cloned persona or a brand. Your imagination has history. Your imagination doesn't appear from nowhere. It has been shaped by your life. You have lived, you have loved, you've lost and traveled through experiences that changed you. You carry memories that no one else carries in quite the same way. And you have your own relationship with color, sound, symbols, places, language, texture, beauty, and meaning. Some things make you laugh, others disturb you. Certain experiences remain unforgettable, and questions that you are trying to understand still years later. You have dreams, contradictions, longings, memories. Your body carries all of that through your experiences, your emotions, and you begin to attach meaning to these memories and experiences. Your choices shaped your life. All of that contributes to the ground to which your imagination comes from and how you give meaning to the experiences that you go through. This is why being real really matters. Originality begins with knowing yourself deeply, deeply enough to create from a real place. And I think that matters more now than any other time before, because when everyone accesses the same tool that can produce fluent language, polished images, content ideas, so polished that they become indistinguishable, indistinctive. Your perspective matters. The connections you make because of who you are and the experiences you lived through matters. Your experiences are so unique. And the expression that is coming out of you is also so unique. If you clone all of that in quick answers, then you lose your unique fingerprint. Becoming real is becoming increasingly valuable. So, what have we explored today? We began with a simple question: is AI shaping our imagination? We talked about a generation growing up with AI as a creative collaborator and why that raises a deeper question about self awareness. If you haven't discovered your own voice, how you recognize when something else begins to shape it, you're missing out. We explored where ideas come from and how creativity can arise through memory, dreams, simple emotions, and unexpected associations. We also looked at inspiration, where it has its roots in, and what it means for something to be breathed into you. We also looked at the disappearance of the empty space where we think. Life is crushing it out of us. The moments when the mind used to have the time to wonder has been filled by scrolling screens or reaching out for AI before we can even think. And we looked at emerging research suggesting that AI collaboration can improve performance, creativity, and tasks, but the diversity may decrease. That finding brings me back to the question that is at the heart of this episode. What happens when the tool becomes so efficient that we stop exploring our own imagination? And remember, your imagination has history. It has been shaped by your own perception of losses, dreams, culture, experiences that have shaped your life. So perhaps the question is not simply whether AI can make us more creative. Think about that. We also have the need to ask what happens to creativity when we lose touch with the person creating. Use the tools, I do, but bring yourself into the process. Participate into what you're creating. Give your mind room to perceive, to be breathed into new ideas. Give your own imagination time to speak before you can ask something else to speak for you. Because familiarity with a tool is not the same as self awareness, you may lose your own independent judgment. And in an age when almost anyone can generate anything and have it so polished, the courage to be you may become one of the most important acts, creative acts of all times. Show up and stay true. Before I leave you, if this episode made you curious, please remember to subscribe. I know a lot of you are listening, and I'm grateful for the 40,000 downloads last month. I mean, really chuffed. But your subscription means that more people will find this independent podcast. I thank you for being passionate about it, as passionate as I am, and I'm really grateful. I'm Sahar Hunaidi Palmer. This is season 26, episode 27 of Unbox the Podcast. And remember, you can also find my website, connect with me on social media, follow my newsletter where you can receive updates. And until next time, protect your imagination, trust your intuition, and stay close to the real you.